Good evening, everyone. My name is Brother Steve Jones. I'm the chairman of the Voteless People as a Hopeless People. Thank you for joining us this evening. Can we have the first slide up, please? I want to welcome you to our second in the series of webinars relative to the midterm elections. And I want to thank you for attending this evening. I'd say my name is Steve Jones. I was initiated in 1972 at Epsilon Kappa Chapter, Bradley University. I later transferred to Illinois State University Untitled Chapter, where I was elected as a Midwestern AVP 7374, serving under James R. Williams. I've also served in this position under the Tillman administration. I'm very pleased to serve also again in the Dr. Lonzo administration. So this evening, our focus is going to be on college brothers and their community engagement on campuses in the community, on how we can make sure that the youth vote, our young people, are engaged in this process. So once again, I thank you very much. As you can see from the agenda, I want to spend some time to briefly review the presentation from the 19th of July, and then get into today's presentation. We have two presenters as well. Brother Harper, who is a recent graduate of American University, who talked to the webinar about his experience in voter registration on his college campus. And also we have with us a representative from Next Gen America, Mr. Adrian Ariano, who talked how their program can support chapters in selected states with voter registration. Then we'll have question and answer and a summary and closing. Also, if you have comments, please post them in the comments section and we'll try to answer them as we go through the presentation. If we don't answer the presentation, we'll probably address them during the Q&A. So once again, thank you very much for attending. So as we get started, it's one thing to keep in mind that there's some misunderstanding about, we need to stress that everyone vote does count. And this is the highlight of the presentation from July 19th, where there's a link which will actually give you firepower to talk to your fellow students, constituents, family members about the parts of voting and why their vote does count. Let's not be misled by the same old about my vote doesn't count. It does matter. Every vote counts. And when you have elections with very close margins, a 4% swing can make a difference between victory and defeat. So every vote does count. So let's keep that in mind. Also, again, I want to draw your attention to the midterm. As you can see, the midterm election is going to be very critical. The House of Representatives, all those seats are up for election. Also 34 Senate seats. Because it's a midterm election, you'll see there are 36 states that will have gubernatorial elections and other key state executive posts up. So not only should we focus on the congressional and Senate races, governor races, as well as local races in your community. Therefore, part of our philosophy and part of our motto is every voter, every election. You can see also in 2023, the focus of 3 states will have gubernatorial elections. And also in 2024, we'll have the presidential election. As a part of that, if you look at the webinar, which is still posted from July 19th, we have more detailed information, but just want to give you a quick overview of here are the Senate seats that are up in this midterm election. And fortunately, we have chapters in most states, except a few in the Western region. So we should be able to participate in a lot of these elections, if not all these elections, for House and Senate seats, and then also in gubernatorial elections. The ones highlighted in red are potential candidates that are not running again. So those are going to be open seats. Likewise, mayor elections are important. So all politics are local. So make sure you're aware of what the offices are that are up for election in your community, and make sure that you're participating not only on the top of the ballot, but also down ballot as well. As you see, even the District of Columbia has a mayor election this year. Also in that webinar on July 19th, there were 2 links that can provide assistance to you in terms of understanding what are your voting and registration requirements. It varies by state. And with the National Conference of State Legislature, that link provides you information by state, where you can drill down by state. You can drill down also by office to understand what the voter registration requirements are. In certain cases, some states, the last date of voter registration for this midterm is October 13th in certain states, and it varies by state. Those states that have same-day voter registration, you need to be aware of what those states are and make sure your program is effective to address that same-day voter registration. Vote Smart is another tool which also provides information on how to understand what the requirements by state. In certain cases, you can do voter registration drives, where that requires online education offered by your respective Secretary of State. And once you complete that, you'll be certified to do voter registration drives, and therefore you can pick up voter registration forms, place those in the community, at say at a barber shop, a church, etc., and register people to vote that way as well. So there's multiple ways to get it done, and also to partner with other entities that will help us do voter registration drives, and we'll cover that in some additional slides. Then versus now. Sometimes we forget our history, and it's important to remember that voting has been a challenge for people of color, and it's been a challenge and continues to be a challenge today. So I just want to spend a few moments on then versus now. Then, as you can see, voting disenfranchisement has been going on for a while. This is nothing new. Voter suppression is a new term. But as you can see here, that there was the poll tax. And here is a copy of a receipt that we obtained, and also as part of the voter registration program execution guides we saw on the Alpha website. It has more information about this. But voter suppression is nothing new, but we must overcome it. So as opposed to counting jelly beans or paying a tax such as this, there's a new way, the now. The now is voter suppression and gerrymandering districts. So it's very important that we do not let these tricks impact us, and we need to understand what the requirements are in our local communities on what's required for voting. If it requires your birth certificate or ID, make sure people understand when they go to register what's required. In certain cases, if they don't have a driver's license, they may have a state-issued ID. So it's very important we understand what is required. As you're aware, in certain states, they are trying to reduce handing out water in long lines. So in those states, such as Georgia, where they limit the restriction to like 125 feet, set it till up 150 feet away. But whatever is required, let's make sure that we're doing our best to stay on point and understand the requirements. So with that in mind, the first person, if he's available, if not, we'll move to the second presenter. Brother Harper, if he's available. Brother Harper is a recent graduate of American University, and we've asked him to participate this evening to talk about his experience while at American University and how he and his college chapter engaged their campus and community in the work of voter registration and the electoral process. So, Brother Harper, please go ahead.
Thank you, Brother Jones, and good evening to the brothers assembled, and good afternoon and morning to our brothers overseas. As Brother Jones said, my name is Brother Tamir Harper. I am the immediate past Assistant Vice President of the Eastern Region, as well as a new beta initiate, a Fall 19 new beta initiate, seated at American University, Georgetown University, George Washington University, and Catholic University of America in Washington, D.C. My apologies not being alpha sharp. I am just coming out of the classroom. I had to stay a little late this evening. When I reflect back on the initiatives that my college chapter executed, we first think about the significant work of registering people to vote, right? Not only registering people to vote, but executing absentee ballots on our university campus. Being in DC, we are the hub of bringing a lot of folk that are not DC natives to our institution. So we wanted to ensure that they were voting back at home. Brother Jones said that local elections are important, and we need to ensure that we vote in them. So it was important for us to ensure that people were registered to vote, not only registered, but were doing their absentee ballots. Now, when we look forward during COVID, during the early start of the pandemic, there was a struggle to get people to work the polls. And let's be honest, there was a struggle to get people to work the polls in Black communities. One of the big initiatives that our chapter pushed, that I had the honor of spearheading, which received national attention on Good Morning America, was calling off school for election day, pretty much stopping schools from operating during election day to ensure people were able to go work in their local communities at the polls, so that we can ensure that our neighbors specifically had access to the ballot box. Those are the two big initiatives. And I'll throw this one out there, right? I know we talk about voteless people, hopeless people on a national level. When we talk about elections on a national level, but when we talk about even being in college, it is important for us to also look at our university elections, right? So when there is an opportunity to elect a student body president, your student body senators, we as college men have to be active in those elections, because oftentimes that gets you access to the president, but also university funding. So while you have to ensure that we elect folk on the local level in municipal elections and state and federal elections, we also have to ensure that on our university campuses we elect people that stand with our values and support our chapters and our initiatives as institutions. So I will yield the rest of my time, Brother Jones. I hope that was a clip notes, and hopefully, brothers, you have some ideas of running for class president and class senate, but also working to do absentee ballots. We used to give out things when we did absentee ballots as well. So, Brother Jones, it's great to join you.
All right. Thank you, Brother Harper. Once again, as a recent college graduate, now alumni brother, what we're trying to do is to make sure that we kind of increase exposure and let people know that there are brothers out there that are doing things on the college campus. And really, brothers, it's your opportunity to work with other like-minded student members. If, in fact, you have a Hispanic student union working with the Divine Nine, LGBTQT, if there are other groups on your campus, try to work with them, join them to support voter registration. With that in mind, I'd like to go to our next presenter. And our next presenter is Brother Adrian Ariano, who is a representative of Next Generation America. And he's going to talk how he can work with chapters in select states on getting out the vote and voter registration. So, Adrian, please go ahead.
Great, thank you. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you to Brother Stephen Jones and Alpha Phi Alpha for inviting me. I really appreciate the collaboration and really excited to see what Next Gen can do with Alpha Phi Alpha. So like Brother Jones said, I'm Adrian Ariano. I am a national project manager with Next Gen America. If you're unfamiliar with Next Gen America, we're the largest youth voting organization in the country. We do everything from voter registration with colleges in our 8 states, to working with influencers online to spread messages about issues that are important to youth. In addition to that, we also have campaigns where we focus on the Black, Latino, and AAPI communities to, first of all, turn them out to vote, and then also get more involved in politics. So a little overview of what we do. I think also right now is especially an important time for youth to get involved in politics and to make sure that they remember how important it is to vote, just because a lot of times during off years, that's usually when one party over the other like starts to gain some seats, and that's actually really important, because that type of loss actually drives the policies that we care about. So that being said, we have a presence in 8 states, and those 8 states are Nevada, Arizona, Texas, Michigan, Wisconsin, New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, and North Carolina. So as you can see on the screen here, we have a state director that is in charge of operations within each of those states. So for any of you joining, if you have any college chapters within any of those states, feel free to reach out to myself or to the state director directly, and you guys can talk about how we can collaborate together. Moving on to the next slide, I believe. So the easiest way to get involved with Next Gen is essentially reaching out to one of our state directors and discussing how some of your members can join our clipboarding events that we host on campus. So let's say we're at Texas A&M and we're going to be hosting a clipboarding event, on September 20th. Then that chapter will reach out to our state director, and then the state director will put you in touch with our regional organizers so that when they show up to campus, the college chapter can also show up, and we can together do a very large voter registration event. And in addition to that, I mean, like we've done fun stuff like breaking jumpers to like welcome week, or just kind of like bringing some food and music. So we're pretty flexible in terms of what kind of events we want to put together. But the easiest way to get involved is just literally showing up and joining us for our clipboarding events. The most important thing that I want to discuss today is we have a very big campaign that we're doing for National Voter Registration Day, which is September 20th. So about a month away, and we're really pushing to host really large voter registration events on most of the college campuses that we're working on. So it would be really amazing if we can collaborate with Alpha Phi Alpha in most of the states that we work in to host events for National Voter Registration Day. And that being said, I wanted to thank you once again for inviting me, and I really hope that we can collaborate together. I think if possible, I can send my email and contact information to everyone on this call. I'm not sure how I can do that, but I can make myself available, and I'm available for any questions if there are any.
Adrian, thank you very much. And what we'll do at the end of this call, we will post your information as far as a follow-up email. Also, this presentation will be posted on the VPHP website under the 2022 midterms. Also, the webinar will still be available as well. So once again, thank you very much. And clearly, when we look at these key states, even within Alpha Alpha, we've been at 15 target states that we need to participate in, which include these 8 that have been listed. And when you look at this list, they're all pretty much battleground states that we all have chapters in. So I'm encouraging the chapters to take a look at your programs, utilize this resource of Next Gen America, and let's move forward and let's really participate in some of these key dates. So Adrian, thank you very much. If you want to, please hang with us and maybe additional questions at the end. So as we move forward, we want to keep in mind that for Alpha Alpha Fraternity, that this committee really works with the voter registration, but also the political and civic engagement with Brother Pickney, his committee, to talk about things or issues. If in fact you go to a candidate forum event, you may want to have 3 or 4 questions to ask. And quite frankly, as we take a look at college chapters and those in the youth movement, when you take a look at climate change, when you take a look at Jackson, Mississippi, they're probably going to be without water for possibly a couple of weeks because of the lack of infrastructure attention. So these are things that we need to get elected officials that are going to address the needs of the community and to be on point and be active to mitigate these type of issues. So we take a look at external groups. As we develop this process, not only for this midterm, but going forward, we're going to try to identify those entities that we as a fraternity can partner with, that we can utilize their resources to help us meet our mission of engaging every voter for every election. So obviously the Divine Nine on the campus, if you have a local NAACP chapter, League of Women Voters. These are very beneficial groups that we can partner with. You also may want to take a look at Build Bridges for America. This is another resource, especially for those that may reside outside of the United States, for the military, to make sure that they're voting. If in fact someone's at a college in a foreign country, make sure they get their voting information in. So there are other tools out there. And also, here's another one. And so we'll add additional resources as we come across them. Also, chapters, if you have a resource that you're working with, say a state initiative, please send information to my email address, which is vphp@afa1906.net, and we'll add that information to our external contacts. So if there are any questions, if they want to be posted in the comments section, we'll try to answer those. At this juncture, I don't see any questions, but if you have any questions, please post them. If not, what I like to do then is to, we want to try to keep these to under 30 minutes, so it's an easy piece of information for everyone to absorb. So if there's not any questions, I'd like to go to the summary chart as we close this. Once again, each region, each chapter needs to understand what their election cycle is and their voter registration requirements. I've highlighted that in Colorado and even in Virginia, where you can do VRDs, you get the education, pass the test, you can actually go out and do voter registrations directly. The other concern, does your state allow for people that have felonies that once they've done their time, they paid their fines, are they eligible to vote? You need to make people aware of that. I understand the recent issue in Florida where there's some controversy about 20 or so people that were supposedly arrested for being convicted felons, but there appears to be some issues. They were led to believe that they could vote, and that's what they did. So let us not get confused, and let's not discourage people from pursuing their constitutional rights. If in fact they have been convicted felon and they've done their time, paid their fine or fees, they should be eligible to vote. Also, as we're still dealing with COVID, make sure you're following your state's requirements for COVID to be safe. As always, not only this committee, but also the fraternity, we do not recommend candidates. We just encourage people that they should vote. And therefore, to vote, you need to be registered. We are not a PAC, so we don't to do those things that would make us consider to be a PAC. So it's important to keep in mind that if, in fact, you want to have a candidate forum, you may want to take a look at how can you partner with, say, the League of Women Voters or someone that can do those type of events. And if anything, be there to support that event. If they have flyers to announce it, to get the word out in the community, because you need to understand what the candidates are saying. A lot of candidates will say anything to get elected, but you also need to take a look at their track record. Does their actions, their activities match what they're proposing? With that in mind, I just want to make aware that we'll have another webinar. As I said, this is a series up to election. The next one will be on September 27th, and that topic will be 41 days to November. And then hopefully we'll have more information about what chapters have been doing in the month of September. Also, there should have been an email that went out to the Brotherhood about activities, which included the event this evening. And also there are some action items for a fall schedule we are partnering with When We All Vote, which is a PAC initiated by former First Lady Michelle Obama that also provides voter registration assistance. There is a webinar training on, I believe, September 13th. Please take a look at that email. I would ask that you register for that event prior to, so you can understand what the process is to use that When We All Vote for voter registration. They have a dashboard where we can actually track or assist in terms of getting people to verify if they've been registered to vote, that they're still active, and if they're not registered, they can be registered. It's a two-step process, so it's very important that we get ahead of the curve and try to make sure that we're following that process. So with that, unless there are any other questions, I want to thank you very much again to the brothers that will be viewing this and that participate in this call this evening. It will be posted at the Alpha Alpha Facebook page or on Sphinx TV. So I'd encourage chapters to, at their leisure, take a look at this. Also review the additional webinar on the 19th. They're both pretty much 30 minutes. Also, as we start to come back with chapter meetings, this may be something you want to include as part of your September kickoff meeting to understand where each chapter is, whether it be college or alumni. Where are we in terms of voter registration? If each brother or person that views this can reach out one to touch one, we'll be better off as we approach the midterm elections. So if there are not any other questions, I want to thank our presenters tonight, Brother Harper, Brother Ariano, for their support, and we'll get this posted at the VPH website. Once again, thank you very much, and good evening.